Hello, everybody. I am recording now. We're going to get going to use up our hour here. So thank you, everybody, for coming and hanging out for those 15 minutes. It was nice to chat with a couple of you. So this is our September. Did I choose September? I did. Okay, one second. Wrong one. I was going to say it's October, Lexi. Oh, I see what I did there. All right. Try that again. Okay, October 8th meeting. So just a quick meeting etiquette, just like last time, this meeting is being recorded. Everybody should be muted unless you're speaking, so please mute yourselves now if you're not muted. Please leave your cameras on. We'd love to interact with you and see your faces as we're talking, if you're capable of doing that. And if you have any question while someone is speaking, please utilize the chat unless that speaker specifically asks you to unmute yourself. And attendance is going to be recorded. So Dr. Bugs, if you could please post that link in the chat now. So just like last time, you just click the link. As soon as you see the events page pop up, you're good to go. You've been recorded. That's all you have to do. So go ahead and do that now. Senators, you have to take attendance, but all graduate students can. All right, so the agenda for today, we're going to have two presentations we're going to start off with. One from Michael Frierson, who's going to talk about the American Association of University Professors. One from Will Queen, that's going to talk about the Green Fund. And then we're going to have a presentation from Nagla, an update from Bradley. We're going to talk about the Constitution that all the senators got sent last month. Get that passed, hopefully. And then Mac is going to give the presentation on the PDF and RCF funding that will be opening soon. All right, so right away, we're going to jump into that. So Michael, I believe you do have screen sharing ability. So I'm going to stop screen sharing now and you can hop on.
Okay. I didn't think to share my screen, but I certainly can. I just want to speak for a few minutes about AAUP. I don't know if you've heard, how many people have heard of American Association of University Professors? It's not surprising, I mean, because when I was your age and a graduate student, I really didn't think much about the profession and how the professorate is organized. I mean, most of us, when we're graduate students, are worrying about our thesis and getting through the coursework. And I was thinking actually just a minute ago, that was 43 years ago for me when I started that task. So AAUP is a faculty-led organization. In states where they have collective bargaining, and places up north where the faculty are organized into unions, it's often the union organization for faculty. But most of the stuff that we think of like academic freedom, defining what academic freedom means, has fallen to the AAUP, starting from the 1920s. And particularly issues like shared governance, you know, the fact that the faculty should have some input on the way the university runs. That whole idea comes from the American Association of University Professors. And it's been the same battle all along. I mean, you know, somebody is doing controversial research or making political statements as a faculty member, and defining what academic freedom means, what we can do in the classroom, fell to the AAUP. And there's a red book that you can get from AAUP that has all the articles that contain the most, you know, the long-standing issues and the more current ones. Things like who owns an online course when you put together an online course. AAUP is the group that takes stands on issues like that. Here at UNCG, I'll keep this really short. We came back together in 2011. There had been a group here in the 60s, 50s too. But in the 1960s, I'm sorry, in 2011, we came back together based on the issue of program review, which you guys probably weren't here for, but they were talking about, let's review all the programs and eliminate some of the programs so we can take those resources and make the other programs strong. That was a very contentious issue. And the fact that AAUP fought back against that, I think, is one of the reasons why that issue died and eventually Chancellor Brady stepped down. So currently what we function more as is like an ombuds office, really. I mean, we have regular meetings. There's a meeting next Monday. I'll send you the information. I'll send it to your president to pass along. Next Monday, I think it's 3:30, 4 o'clock. We're meeting with the provost remotely. He's gonna come in. We'd love to have any of you come into that meeting and join us. The chapter membership fees here are very small, $10 for a graduate student. We really don't even care if you pay the fee. Just come and see what we're about. I mean, and so what we can do for you basically is serve as an ombuds office in a way. We have people who are longstanding department heads in big departments like English, who former English department heads, things like that, who can really give you good advice about the politics, stuff I never understood when I was a graduate student. It took me a while to learn all that stuff. It's just a good place to come and air issues that you're having outside of your department, right? Because you're not going to be able to talk to people in your department directly and frankly. And we're not a labor union. We can't, we really can't strike in North Carolina, right? That's not allowed. But we do feel like we have, as a longstanding advocate for university faculty, we do feel like we have a voice here. It's not the faculty senate, it's outside the Senate, and it is a respected voice that's been around for a long time. So please join us anytime, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Oh, I guess I should check the chat. Are we chatting for any of that? I'll send to you right now, but this is the link for our chapter, and there's some information on how to join there. We take PayPal, stuff like that if you want to contribute. But again, I will send you the information about the upcoming meeting, and feel free to join us and you'll just get a sense of what it's like. You probably know some of the folks. I mean, SPOMA, anybody know SPOMA? Work with SPOMA in the communications department. The people who are active and activist types on campus, that's who we tend to attract. So it's a good group. For me, at this point in my career, it's been a fabulous thing for me just to get to know people in other departments. You get so locked into your silo. But thank you for letting me speak. And if there's anything I can do, I'll put my email in here and you can feel free to email me any questions you might have. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing all of that information. I think that's a lot of things that we are not aware of as students.
Great. Talk to you soon. I'll send you the information about the meeting too.
Perfect. Thank you. All right.
It's a pleasure having you, Dr. Michael. I know that you reached out to me for advocacy. So we appreciate cooperating with you.
Yes. Yeah, we've been fighting on the COVID issue for sure. We're getting much more organized around the state with other AUP groups at Charlotte, App State, UNC, Chapel Hill, and I guess those are the main big ones. Thank you again.
Thank you for coming.
Uh-huh.
All right. Will, do you have slides you want to share?
In hindsight, that would have been a great idea, but no, I don't. I only have, I just have 2 or 3 minutes, if that's all right.
Please,
hey everybody, I'm Will Queen. I'm a PhD candidate in the Department of Economics. And I know funding is in short supply right now, so hopefully everybody will be excited to hear a little bit more information about up to $80,000 worth of funding for graduate students or other students and staff on campus. So I'm, in addition to being a candidate in the PhD econ program, I'm also a committee member on the Green Fund. And real quick, the Green Fund is a committee that was created by Uncg students in 2015. And we all say the students then in 2015 voted to allocate a portion of our funds to creating the Green Fund, which is essentially a grant program run by students to award grants to student-led projects that will fund or help advance sustainability and our energy and climate goals on campus. So these grants can go towards education, research, professional development, and I would say how do you say hardware, or let's say like LED bulbs, for example. As long as it has some sort of tangible benefit to UNCG and our climate plan and our goals, our sustainability, you can apply for a grant for a project. And in this academic year, in addition to sustainability minded projects, we're also accepting applications for COVID-19 related projects. So any research, education, professional development, infrastructure that has to do with COVID-19 on the UNCG's campus, we're accepting grants for that as well. So these proposals can be submitted at any point. We meet 3 times per semester, once a month, and then you usually get a response within, I'd say, about a month and a half of applying. So if you apply in October, we'll usually look at it in November and get back to you by the end of November. But these are projects you have to do the legwork for. So if you have a grand research idea, or you want to see, let's say, like those solar powered trash cans around campus, those are funded by the Green Fund. Right, if you want to do something interesting like that, right, you're going to have to go through the appropriate hoops, talk to the correct people, and set up to make sure these things are possible, and put together that grant proposal. And so again, applications, they're on a rolling basis. But personally, I think this is especially valuable for graduate students who want paid research opportunities and want to kind of be their own boss in a way. A lot of us, especially PhD candidates and students, we might want to go into academics, and applying for a grant, going through that stressful process, getting the money, filling out all the, right, going through that process can be really valuable. And so I've had the opportunity to do it twice with the Green Fund so far, and it's been great. We still have about $80,000 to give out potentially this year. And so I would love to give out $80,000, or we would love to as a committee. So I'll just go ahead and give a few examples before wrapping this up. You could look at a full list of all the examples of the projects that we have funded since 2015 on the Green Fund website. If you just Google UNCG Green Fund, it'll be the first link that comes up. The Piney Lake Garden that we just funded in the spring is an example. Sustainable art that we're putting up on Spring Garden or Westgate City Boulevard. The energy dashboard, I'm currently working on a project to gather all energy meter readings around campus and kind of create a dashboard. Or some students in the computer science department are helping us create a dashboard so that students and staff can see how much energy we're consuming kind of in real time. Those are examples. The solar powered trash cans, those are another example. Conferences, travel expenses for sustainability related topics, or in this case, COVID-19 related topics. These are all examples. So I encourage everybody to think of the ideas or tell your departments. And especially for the summer, you have plenty of time to put together a grant proposal and hopefully be funded for the summer. I just threw a bunch of info at you. I know I don't have any fancy slides, but I did put plenty of information in an email to Bradley on the exec committee who can pass this along. But I'll open it up for questions if anybody has any questions. There's a lot of little technical things in the application process that we could talk about it, but there's no limit on how many times you can apply. If you're rejected or we want something to change, we can go back and forth until it's in a form that is acceptable. So thank you for letting me speak. And if anybody has any questions, please let me know. I'll just look in the chat real quick, just in case.
Thank you so much, Will. I mean, it's amazing work getting done on UNCG campus, everything that you do. Thank you for that. I did just post the sustainability link to the Green Fund in there. So if anybody's interested, want to read more about what Will's talking about, go ahead and click that and you can get to that. And remind me again, Will, when are applications due?
There's no one due date.
Okay.
So as long as you submit it by the 1st of the month, we'll take a look at it during that month's meeting. So if you want to be funded for the summer, for example, right, you want to do research over the summer because you're not in class, you need to submit it by our last meeting of the spring semester, April 1st, for example. But funding, it's not kind of like we're GSA where it's very in specific parts. You have total flexibility. So in our programs, we said, well, my hourly rate's this, and this is how many hours we think this research is going to take, and this is when I want to do the work, right? And so it's totally up to you when you want to submit your proposal, when you want to be funded. That's all up to you to decide.
Awesome. I think you have one question in the chat.
Yeah, I don't see why not. So I think the question is, does this also include sustainability in terms of apparel production for the student bookstore? Yeah, sure. I don't know anything about that topic at all, but if you talk to the appropriate people there and they're interested, right, we can't give you permission to overtake the bookstore or something, but if you talk to them and yeah, that sounds great. That would definitely fall under the umbrella for sure. And there was one other question from Megan.
Go ahead and unmute yourself, Meg. Thank you.
I do have a question. So I've been interested in the Green Fund for a while, kind of doing the, like, science art on campus. And so kind of what does that look like in terms of like putting physical infrastructure on campus? Like how would the Green Fund coordinate with actual facilities and stuff like that?
In my experience, facilities is really, they're nice to work with. I've had to work with them on 3 different projects. You would unfortunately kind of have to almost cold call or cold email somebody at facilities and say, hey, you know, I'm going to apply to the Green Fund. And by now they're very familiar with the Green Fund, and just say what your ideas or what you're interested in. Who do I need to talk about it? And I would expect it to take several meetings, or for that, you know, several weeks or even months to kind of go back and forth to figure that out. But we've had a lot of successful art projects. So there's one we just approved for Westgate City for the School of the Blind there, that big brick building. There are some classes that are going to produce some huge, I mean, I can't remember all the specifics, but huge murals all over those brick buildings, kind of created by Uncg students, for example. So unfortunately, you just kind of have to email them and start talking with them, which is, I think, the part that discourages a lot of people from applying, unfortunately, is that there's a lot of legwork. But yeah, if you have the time, like, definitely start to just kind of email like one of the administrators in facilities, and they're usually all for it, especially if you're getting funding from somebody else. You're not asking them to pay for it out of their budget.
Will, you have one more questions how libraries could use this, and then we'll have to move on to our next.
Okay, sure. How could they use this? Would you mind clarifying? I'm not sure if I understand. Like, to kind of make the library more sustainable, or I mean, there's really no restrictions, unless you wanted to clarify the question. I mean, there's really no restrictions for how it can be used. Some faculty have requested funds for the Green Fund, staff can. The only thing is we can't fund faculty, so we can't pay parts of faculty salaries. But yeah, I mean, if you want to see books go more online or something, I'm not sure if there's some sustainability thing within the library, absolutely. Students can do it. Library Information Studies program, yeah, absolutely. As long as the project in some way has to do with sustainability, energy, COVID-19 now, as long as you could just pitch that in the grant proposal, then we're more than happy to look at it.
Awesome. Well, everybody thank Will for coming. That was great
Thanks,
information. If you want to post your email in the chat before you go, if anybody has additional questions, we can follow up with you there.
Sure.
Thank you very much, Will.
Thank you.
All right, so next we're on to Nagla's got her presidential update.
Thank you so much, Lexi. I will try to look at all of you. It is always a pleasure coming to our meetings and seeing all of you. I had a wonderful opportunity to see Abby during the PPE distribution, and I saw some of you. It was wonderful chatting with all of you. This is a very happy, beautiful day for me, seeing you all, but also seeing Dr. Derek Johns. Dr. Derek Johns, our previous GSA president. It is a pleasure, Derek, having you with us today. You are the light that we follow, Derek. We are following your wonderful work, and we are so happy to have you here today. So I will be sharing with you some of the work that the GSA e-board is doing, because we really care for you, and we are trying to do our best to highlight your wonderful selves and to bring you the best resources and funding opportunities, and bringing the expertise to here for all of us to benefit from. We had wonderful things to share with you. And the first on our agenda that me and Lexi, we represent the graduate students in the Graduate Council. And we advocated for extension of the academic relief policy. And do you guys aware what is the academic relief policy? Are we aware? Megan, Lauren, are we? Do we know? This is an option that we can use as a students during this difficult time of the pandemic and everything else, that gives you the option to withdraw without failure, to have satisfactory and unsatisfactory grade, things like that. So I wanted to tell you that we really advocated for extension of this policy during the fall, because the notion is graduate students are resilient and they are good and they are doing great. Why we have this policy? And we kept saying, but this is still so difficult. This time is very difficult emotionally and physically, and we need, as Lexi said, this is a safety net. To whoever needs this policy, it will be there for you. And I put this sentence for you to know that this is just a process. The motion for extension of the academic relief policy passed the graduate council, and now we have like some comments from the graduate faculty, and then the council will consider the comments, but hopefully we'll have the academic relief policy. Second, as your e-board, we are on Uncg campus to tell the graduate students are the best. Graduate students are amazing. And we are trying to showcase your research work, your wonderful backgrounds, your wonderful self, your policy work that Megan D'Amico is doing. We are trying to bring everything wonderful you do. So showcase the greatness of graduate students is our goal this year. And I kept looking at student affairs and some kind of like competitions that showcase students. And I came across one of the competitions and they said, this is only for undergraduate students. I said, no, this is unjust. This is unfair. Graduate students should compete because we are great. So hopefully we will have lots of areas to compete. And one of them, the one that I had a fight for all graduate students, called the Royal Homecoming Court Contest. And I think you received something about this competition. And when they told me, we cannot consider graduate student, I said, sorry, I don't take that. I don't accept that. The greatness of graduate students should be shared, and we will be competing hopefully next year. But also I need your ideas on how do you want us to showcase every one of you? How we can showcase your research? How we can showcase your talent? How can we showcase your contribution in the community? You can share this with us in the chat or in the informal meeting that we will have. We are here to say how wonderful, how amazing the graduate students are. Then this is Lauren. I heard you, Lauren. I am like you. I like to be around people. I like to see my colleagues, to support each other and to exchange ideas and to have fun together. So our Come Talk with GSA informal meeting will be Thursday, October 22nd at 4:30. This is informal, but the invitation is open for all of you, and it will be wonderful because I invited Dr. Aisha Bice from the Educational Research Method Department, and I think Jennifer Lingle, she knows her. Dr. Aisha is an amazing speaker when it comes to self-care in graduate school. She will share with us wonderful tips and tricks on how to be wonderful in graduate school. And after her talk and the interactive session, then we will have time for just us. Lauren will have breakout rooms where you can sit with Nagla, you can sit with Bradley, you can sit with Mac to speak about money, or you can sit with Lexi to speak about programs. So those rooms will be our place just to know each other. I need to know what Abby is doing. I need to know about you, Lauren. I need to know about Travis. What is he doing in kinesiology? I really, me and the e-board would love to come closer to you. So this informal meeting will be our place to enjoy your company and get closer to each other. So please try to come. I wish to see all of you. The informal sessions are also a good opportunity for you, especially if you are a new senator. I know Abby talked to me. She's from political sciences. It is her first year to be a senator. It's not easy. You will not understand every procedure and everything is done during the meetings. So come for mentorship. We will be there for you to support you as a new senator and provide you with anything and every resource we have for you. Dean Kellyberg, the Dean of Graduate School, she is one of our cheerleaders. She is our supporters. One of our supporters, she texted me like 10 p.m. last night and she said, Nagla, I have a good resource for graduate student. Can you share it tomorrow? I said, definitely, Dean Berg. It was not on my agenda, but I will share it. She shared with me a very good opportunity called North Carolina Council of Graduate Schools annual meeting. This is a free meeting, and I will ask Bradley to share the link for you. In this conference, they will discuss everything related to us graduate students. Funding, assistantships, our role on campuses. So if you would like, I will be there, and I wish that you could come and talk about graduate students. As your e-board, we will do our best to represent you, to bring you resources and bring you support and joy, and be having a wonderful time with every one of you. Come October 22nd. I'm waiting for you. The e-board is waiting for you. Thank you, Lexi.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Nagla. We are gonna keep trucking along, but we do have 2 minutes. Does anybody have any questions for Nagla or any questions about this before we move on? We've been monitoring chat, so feel free to keep using that. We'll keep answering you in there. All right, if nobody has any questions, then we are going to move on to Bradley's update, our Public Relations Marketing Chairman. So go ahead, Bradley, you can take over.
All right, so this won't be nearly as long or as exciting as anything else you've heard tonight. So during the last meeting, I had a good bit of feedback from everybody that they would like a Slack channel or something like that, another way for everybody to kind of stay in touch with the board, you know, to play off of what Nagla said, another way for us to kind of talk to each other, whether it's about GSA related things or not. So I went ahead and made a Slack channel for GSA. It's still got some things in the works as far as having dedicated channels for, you know, the committees and everything else that we have going on, but it is up and running. You're welcome to join. And I'll go ahead and get the link put in chat now. So if you're not familiar with Slack, you can use it on your desktop or through your phone. I think I've looked at it on my computer once or twice, but it works really well on my phone. Like I said, it's another great way for everybody to kind of stay in touch. I know Lexi and I have kind of looked around on it. It has, you know, private messaging. We've got dedicated things for funding, finances with MAC, programs, presidential stuff, and anything else that we decide we might need. Any feedback we get from the rest of you, we'll get that in there. The second big thing, and I only gave it one line at the bottom, but we have plenty of giveaways. I have 8 or 10 boxes here in my apartment of things that I have to give away to all of you this year. And coffee, music, and more was the best way I could describe it, because I've got 3 or 4 Keurigs, you know, 40 to 50 K-cups for everybody to get started off with. I've got a few sets of AirPods to give away. And all those updates and all the rules for those are going to go out through Spartan Connect. So if you're not already part of the organization on there to get emails, please go ahead and join. Second thing, if you're not already following us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, keep an eye out for those as well. And that's really all I've got. And then I've got a couple minutes for any questions. So if anybody has anything, please let me know.
The Slack joining has started. I'm getting all the
It has. I'm getting.
So thank you all.
I've got 5 people in so far. Yeah, thank you guys. That's awesome.
Does anybody have any questions about Slack or any questions for Bradley before we move on? All right. So yes, Slack can be used on your phone or on the desktop. So please go ahead and click the link. You can join it on both or whichever you prefer. All right, so GSA Constitution Revisions. What happened is last time, senators, you got the new Constitution or the revised Constitution sent to you after our September meeting. So you have now had a month to review it. And I got one email. Thank you, Travis, so much for your ideas. I am hoping that you will join our Constitution revision party next time, or committee. That would be great to have you. So with that, I am going to present the Constitution, where I've highlighted the main revisions that we made. So just kind of, you can see clearly what was changed and why. I'll talk through that a little bit. For the old Constitution, if you want to compare them, that's still on our website. So feel free to go to our website and look at the Constitution if you're looking for a comparison. Give me a second, I'm gonna do a new share. All right, is everybody seeing the Constitution now?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so the first thing we did was update our logo because that has been updated since the last time the Constitution was revised. So again, anything highlighted is something that we changed. Otherwise, all the text was the same. I highlighted main things like grammar, periods, things like that did not get highlighted in this version. So one of the main things we wanted to do was shorten Bradley's title. Public Relations / Marketing Chairperson gets a little bit drawn out sometimes. So we went with Student Relations Chairperson. The Executive Board Officer Agreement, the main thing here is it used to say or be appointed by maintain academic good standing. Yeah, so sorry, this part, the maintaining academic good standing, we just kind of elaborated on it a little bit more. It basically said before, have good standing with the university, so that was unclear what that meant. Each department has their own definition for this as well, so kind of going with the broad definition of what is academic good standing for graduate students. If the Senate is not in session, we had to add this part here because of what happened with Bradley last summer. So last summer, we all of a sudden had to host an emergency election, and that was not anywhere in the Constitution. So we didn't have any rules to follow. So we added a couple things here about summer vacancies. So if we are in the summer, that means we don't have a Senate sitting because you all are not required to be a Senate in the summer. So we basically just said that the E-Board could stand in for the Senate over the summer, and then whatever the E-Board decides would have to be confirmed at the first Senate meeting. So basically you all would still have the last say. All right, the Vice President, the only thing that we added to my role here was that I chair all GSA assembly meetings. That was something that was well understood, but just not clear in the Constitution, so we added that. You can see the change of Bradley's title here from Public Relations to Marketing to the Student Relations Chairperson. And by the way, this revised Constitution will be sent after it's approved today as well, so don't feel like you have to take notes right now. The Graduate Program Director, this used to be Graduate Studies. It's GPD now. So this is just the new name of that director that's in charge of your graduate program. So we updated that. The Senate, here is the part where it said the graduate program director could appoint whoever they want. So we wanted to make it clear that the graduate student senators needed to volunteer first, that the GPDs could not just appoint whoever they wanted. Senators need to attend monthly meetings. That was also assumed but not made clear in the Constitution before. And then the senators, we knew that you were representing your own department, but as far as polling the interests of the graduate students in that department is something that we wanted to add. So just to make sure that senators are having conversations with their fellow peers, their fellow graduate students, and bringing those conversations to the GSA assembly meetings or to the GSA e-board. And then the shall elect GSA executive board during the March meeting. Again, this is or if a vacancy occurs. So because we went through that this summer, we made sure that was updated on all sections. Programming committee, I'm really into polling students. I don't think that we know what all students want. So I think it's always best to ask what they want and go off of that. So we added that the student body should be polled to collect student preferences on social events and professional development. That's in the programming committee, so my part. The RCF, so the financial committee, this used to say the PDF was 60% of the total funds and the RCF was 15%. So what MAC did here was just combine the two. So we have 75% for funding overall. And then if something happens like COVID where we can't travel, these funds can be allocated to the other section. So just giving us a little bit more freedom here. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to chime in while we're talking about it. Otherwise, you can wait till the end and we can talk about it then. For the finance committee rules, the actual percentage allocates will be made by the Treasurer and Finance Committee. So this here, the specific percents, again, this just gives us a little bit more leeway. In case something like this happens, we can allocate funds to better support all students instead of having our travel funds tied up because nobody can travel this year. And then the GSA advisor, let's see, sorry, this is if the, can reinstate a department's eligibility. As you know, the senators, if you are not at the monthly meetings, your department funding can get cut. That's one of the main reasons we require senators to be at the monthly meetings, so you're up to date with all of the information. So this is just saying that if you are not able to come to the meeting, the executive board or the GSA advisors can reinstate that department if there's an adequate reasoning for being absent. And then the sixth one, right here, this is highlighted in red. Additional funds not used by March 31st will be redistributed to ensure use based on a 75% vote by the executive board. So this used to say that all the funds would be reallocated to the PDF fund. Again, that's not useful if we're not able to use the PDF or it's not the right timing. So this is just a little bit more leeway for us to be able to put those funds where we need to. Let me see. Thanks, Mac, for answering the chat here, and Dr. Bugs. So the Constitution.
Sorry, Lexi. I think Abby wanted to ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, this is backtracking a little bit, but what would you say is the best way to engage with our respective departments in order to kind of bring that information back to GSA meetings, since we can't really communicate with people so easily besides Zoom meetings?
Right, that's a really good question. So I was the biology senator last year, and what we did is I got all of the graduate student emails from our GPD, from the program director. I just said, hey, I'm the senator, I need all of the graduate student emails in my department. And then we just sent emails that way, like sent out a Google poll, like what kind of events would you all like to see? What events would you like to see in the department, or change would you like to see in the department? What would you like to see at a whole graduate level? So just kind of opening the floor to hear any advice that they have or something that they want you to bring to our meetings too is really important. So yeah, just using free Google Forms is what I used to do.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and Abby, since you and I are in the same department, we already maintain a listserv of every current student's email. And so, like, I'm sure a lot of other departments are doing it too. It's nothing that I'm sure we're unique on. But if you just email Cheryl or Baco, they can give you that. And it's just already a mass mail merger that will send everything out.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking. So the Constitution Review Committee, this is a whole brand new section. This was not in the Constitution before. So here we're just requiring that the Constitution gets revised every 3 years. If the Constitution's going past that, there's obviously going to be updates almost every single year. So we just want to require that. And it just talks about who can sit on the committee, when can amendments be made, anytime, how the amendments get approved. And then the very last one here in red is the only addition since the version that you all got sent. Any non-substantial changes to the Constitution may be made by the GSA Executive Board and will be tracked and reported at the next meeting. So this just means like grammar, spelling, periods, things like that. We have the ability to update as we see fit, and they'll all be tracked and reported at the next meeting. So you will all be kept involved in that. Impeachment, we just made this section a little bit more clear. Before it kind of just like stated if somebody needed to be impeached, there would be a trial and they would be able to speak out at the trial. So you were all sent this, you can read it on your own time and let us know if you have any questions. But again, this is just a little bit more specific, detailed what would happen if somebody did need to be impeached. All right, the meetings, just added that the first meeting can't be held any later than September. If we're ready, we can have the first meeting in August. So I'm keeping that open to whoever the e-board is whenever they need, when they deem that necessary. Meeting time should be decided by the executive board availability based off of senator preference. So we did a little bit of that polling right away with the senators, like when would you like the GSA meetings to be held? So thank you for your feedback on that. We will continue to do that. It has to be when we're available, obviously, because we have to be here. We try to fit it when students are mostly available. So if you have any other feedback on that, please let us know. But otherwise, we set the quorum to be 30 senators. Before it said a simple majority of senators, so we just made that a little bit more specific. We had to have at least 30 senators to fit a quorum. Amendments, it used to say only senators could make amendments. The executive board can make amendments as well, so we added that. And then the advisors, obviously we love the 2 advisors that we have now, so we hope that they stay with us forever. But in the fact that they do move on one day and we get new advisors, we just wrote in here that the dean of the graduate school, which is currently Dean Burke, is the one that would appoint the advisors, which currently now, like I said, we have 2. This said followed by approval for from the executive board. We added that because we definitely want to be involved with who our advisors are going to be. And then if any issues arise with advisors selection once appointed, all the matters in action will be dealt with by the dean of the graduate school and or vice chancellor of the student affairs. So that would right now be Dr. Akins or Dean Burke. So we just wrote that little note in there just in case in the future we have any issues. So last revision was in September. All right, so with that, while I have it open, does anybody have any questions or anything that they would like to propose be amended? I'm gonna check the chat and make sure I'm not missing anybody. All right, nobody has any questions. And again, you can propose amendments at any time, at any Senate meeting. So if the next meeting you forgot to say something now, feel free to do that. If you have any questions, you can send me an email about it. But if there isn't any questions, then I'm going to launch a poll. So what we're gonna do, yeah, the poll is going now. So you can just answer the first question. The second question was set up in case we had any amendments. So go ahead and you can answer the first one here. Only senators, please vote. So senators, do you vote to pass the revised constitution? That's what I just went over with you is the revisions.
Sorry, Lexi, it won't let us submit it unless we answer the second one as well.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm a little bit new with polls in Zoom, so I thought that I could pick which question was up, but yeah, so you can answer both of them. Just do you vote to pass the revised constitution? Only senators, please. All right, I got 40 votes in. Leave it for a couple more seconds. All right. Thank you very much for your voting. As you can see, that did pass. So this is now our current constitution. This will be updated on the website after today's meeting. Awesome. All right. And with that, if nobody has any other questions, we'll keep moving right along, get to what everybody wants to hear about. The funding, oops, sorry, I skipped your page, Mac. All right, Mac, you can go ahead and take over.
Awesome. So I feel like everyone is like very anxious to hear about the PDF and RCF, and I feel like my heart's like racing faster for some reason. But we're gonna get through this. I'm honestly like so excited to be able to open the PDF and the RCF. I think that with COVID and the policies and regulations, I think that our e-board And with the help of Dr. Bell and Dr. Bugs, our advisors, we've really tried to best utilize the funds so we can still benefit as graduate students. And again, just using that funding appropriately. And so there are a little different hoops to jump through, right? So anytime we have funding, we have hoops to jump through. But again, we're so excited to share this with you. So Lexi, can you hit that next screen for me? Perfect. Okay. So applications will open Friday, October 16th at 6 a.m. We chose Friday, again, 6 a.m. is a little early, we know, but 8 a.m. is when a lot of students, especially graduate students, already work. And so opening the application portal before our workday is advantageous. And again, we were thinking about a weekend, but that Friday, we still have IT support. So in case something were to go horribly, horribly wrong with InfoReady, we have IT support to help us kind of get that out. So first, we're going to start with our, just like what the difference is between our PDF and our RCF. So we use a lot of these like alphabet soup type things, but we want to make sure that we're all very clear about the differences between our professional development fund, or our PDF, compared to our research capstone fund, which is an RCF. The biggest difference is that the PDF, which we're all pretty familiar with, is to fund virtual conferences this year. Traveling to any actual in-person conference is prohibited by the university, meaning that it will not fund any in-person conferences or associated fees. So the only thing the PDF will fund this semester is a virtual conference registration fee that you present at. So I think everyone is pretty familiar with our InfoReady system by now. If you're new, don't worry, I'll explain it. But InfoReady is just our portal system for application. So it's super important. Again, a video is coming once we get our InfoReady finalized on how to actually submit through InfoReady, just to clear up any questions. Moving on to our RCF, the biggest difference with our PDF compared, can you go up one slide, Lexi? Sorry, that was tricky. The biggest difference between our PDF and our RCF is that the PDF, so remember for our virtual conference registration fees, if you present, the RCF is a request to purchase, where the PDF is a reimbursement. And this is just basically staying with the policies and regulations set forth by the university. The RCF has not been open in the past. It's very difficult to try to figure out how to get some of our student fee money back to you guys through research. And so we're very excited to be able to talk about that and move that forward. So we're going to stick with the PDF. Again, this is to fund virtual conference registration fees only if you're presenting. And so you probably to figure out, okay, what do I need to submit to make sure that I have a successful application? Again, it looks a little different this year. And we just want to make sure that you're clear on what you need to submit. So the first one for our PDF, the letter of support, that's pretty familiar with everyone. It just is a letter of support from your faculty member or advisor stating that presenting and attending a virtual conference, they're in full support of, and that how it benefits you as a student here at Uncg. Typically, your advisor and or faculty member will be familiar with writing these letters, and if it's on letterhead through your department or university, that's even better. The second thing, which is new this year, is going to be a student reimbursement form. So this means that there is no TRV because we are not traveling. So I think everyone can, like, at least for me, huge sigh of relief that we don't have TRV forms. But the student reimbursement form, which we'll go through a little bit later, it's your basic information. It's your basically your like name, student ID, where you're going, right? Which is obviously only virtually. And then the most important thing about the student reimbursement form is that you explain how it benefits the university that you're presenting and going to this virtual conference. The third thing is the receipt of conference. And so you guys are pretty good at that when submitting for the spring last year. But the receipt of conference just needs to be that itemized list or itemized receipt. And it needs to be broken down so the costs show that you owe nothing or that the balance is zero. The fourth thing that you'll need to submit for a successful application is proof. So we want to make sure that you went to the conference, again, went virtually. So the conference at a glance, the schedule, or even the thank you email you receive after you attend a virtual conference is totally great for for your proof of attendance. And then the fifth thing is only for international students, and that's your NRA 001, NRA 002, or your I-55-1. And depending on your current status, will depend on what form you need to submit. So Lexi, can you flip me to the next one? Perfect. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the RCF. Again, the RCF is new. We've had to make some revisions on that to best utilize our funds to support you guys. Again, the RCF is a request to purchase. And so if you have already bought something for your research, like myself, I finished data collection about a week ago. Anything that I bought for my research collection, I can't get reimbursed for. This is not a reimbursement portal. It is a request to purchase. So if you have something that you need that's coming up, I highly suggest submitting through the portal, but don't buy it yet. You need to wait until you get cleared from us to buy it. So to apply for the RCF, again, it'll be through InfoReady. There'll be a separate competition, we call it. So there'll be a PDF competition and then an RCF competition. Again, similar things, and kind of just make sense about what you would need to submit. You need a letter of support again. So obviously that letter of support will be from your faculty advisor or mentor, stating what item you need and why it's necessary, that your research needs this as well. The second thing, which is super important, and that'll be a text box you fill in, is the explanation of how it'll benefit the university and not just you. So this seems like a little harsh, but to cut through the tape and to make sure, again, that we can get those funds to you, is that the item you request to purchase is not your own. It's technically owned by the university, and that item or service that you request to purchase needs to stay in your lab or your department or in your college, rather than it be belonging to you individually. So again, an explanation of how or what that item is, and then how it'll benefit not just you, but the entire university or your entire lab. The third item will be a link, again, just link of proof of cost. So if an item costs $200, we need proof that it costs that amount. Our cap is $300 for the RCF, and our PDF is capped at $200. So our application window will open next Friday at 6 a.m. and it'll close on Friday, October 30th at 11:59 p.m. Our website will have the information, including a video that I made, again, to help you kind of walk through this process. A secondary video will be up to walk you through InfoReady once we have that finalized, again, just to answer any questions and to make it as clear as possible about what the submission process will look like. You can always email me with questions that you have. I'm sure we're gonna have an explosion of questions, but before we do that, we are still trying to work at what you guys want or request to purchase through the RCF, and getting a better idea of what you guys want to request can give us better time and better idea to talk with accounts payable to see what's a firm yes and a firm no at this point. Again, we're trying to use our funds the best way we can. And while at times it seems harsh what we can buy or what we can purchase and what we can't, again, we're just trying to cut through the red tape to help you. So any questions that you have or any items that you'd want to purchase, we're gonna keep track of that in our chat. And so if you have something you're like, I really need GoPros for my lab and multiple students can use them, that's a great thing to put in the chat to say if we can get a yes or no on that. So if you guys want to drop that in the chat, that would be great. Otherwise, I'll open up to any questions that you have for now.
Mac, you already have a question. Travis is asking, how might single-use equipment or items for research be framed to benefit the department or UNCG? Because as you might guess, it's a consumable. So once it's used, it's gone. How would he make an argument for that?
I think the best way to do that would be to explain the multiple student use. So if it's something that multiple students can benefit from in your lab, that's what the university is really looking for. Again, the RCF should not be your only source of funding for your research, but the best way, again, to make sure that that item can be purchased is to show the university that multiple students are using them, especially if it's that single use item. That's a great question, Travis. What other questions do we have? is this the only time the application for RCF will be open? So we will be opening the RCF and PDF next Friday, and we'll be closing it. We're like very excited and very hopeful that we can open it again in the spring. So if you're like, this seems like a really great thing, I need to get some more ideas down, figure out what I want to, or what I could potentially purchase, hold off on that. Again, we're very excited to be able to offer that in the spring as well. Great question. Hi, Eddie. Bradley, can you drop the website link in for Eddie? And Bradley just uploaded our form, our student reimbursement form that you would use for the PDF. Again, in the next couple of days, we'll have everything up there ready to go. I think our video is up there if it's not already. And then we'll have a secondary video, me walking through our info ready and how it works, and just making sure you feel comfortable before you submit. Again, feel free to drop in things that you would want to request a purchase for the RCF. It gives us a better idea of what potentially might come in. And so we can get some firm answers for you before we potentially open this up. What other questions do you guys have? I'm sure there's some. Or my presentation was super clear.
And Mac, if anyone does have any questions that they realize after, I do have a dedicated channel for you on Slack for finance. And so if anyone's already on Slack and they don't feel like typing in an email, you can drop it in there as well.
Awesome, thanks Bradley. Looks like we have a couple questions coming in. Jennifer, you're presenting at a conference at the end of the month. Can I use my abstract acceptance email as proof, or will I need to wait until the conference is over? What we'll be doing is you send the abstract acceptance email, and then if you have a successful application, then we'll probably attach that after the closing date or after your conference is over. Corey Potts from our business manager side, who is wonderful, will probably want an additional thing, but that's a great placeholder. We've done that in the past. Another question, Catherine, can it be used to fund one part of a bigger purchase, i.e., yes. So again, Dr. Buggs, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Corey said that it can be part of a bigger purchase.
So it can be part of a bigger purchase, but Catherine, can you give us a little more insight on an example of what that would be? We can split funding between us and another department, but if you submit something that's $1,000 and it's one item, I don't know if accounting will allow us to split it that way.
Sure. I guess my question is more about like, this is a strange example, but I'm going to be building cages for insects. And so that's something that can be reused in the future, but will most definitely cost more than $300. And the other part of the funding could come from either my department or a grant that I'm funded on. And so I didn't know if that was a possibility to submit something like that, I guess.
Well, thank you for giving me that clarification. Now I can give you a better answer. Better answer, I would say, is that you would submit proof of what it is that you're wanting to buy up to $300. So if you say I'm buying wire, I need wire cutters, I need tarps, you're gonna submit that up to $300, and then GSA can fund that. But if it was something larger, like I said, if it's $1,000, you say I just want us to pay $300, university accounting will not allow that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for the clarification.
You're welcome.
All right, Mac, I think you have one more question and we are a minute over. So if you want to answer that, then we will have to move on. Everybody else, please email Mac your questions or use that Slack channel to ask questions.
Yes. I'm just going to try to answer one more question. Is the student reimbursement form going to be available at the same time as the application? So the student reimbursement form will be available before the application window to give you an opportunity. I think it's already up. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bradley. He already put it up, so that's great. Great thing about, oh, you did? Perfect.
Yeah, it went up this afternoon.
Perfect. The great thing about this semester, obviously, we're all bummed that we can't travel, but with no travel and only going to virtual conferences as we present. There is no TRV form, so that saves everyone a lot of signatures. Another question, can multiple students apply towards one larger item? Say 4 students applied together for one big ticket item. Dr. Bugs, I believe we talked about this.
That's one of those ones that we'll need to take to purchasing. That's a great question, Julie, because we thought of it when we had our meeting earlier today, but we don't know. So we will take that to purchasing to find out if that will be permissible. That's what we'll be clarifying in the next week before the funding competition launches.
And can I just say and remind everyone again, register to vote. Our funding and our use of funding is basically managed by our state representation. And so again, a lot of the red tape we're going through, the explanations are because our state representation wants to see that our funding is being used appropriately. And so again, it's so important to vote for multiple reasons. But again, you want to make sure you have your own, your say in what money comes in and out of the university.
All right, thank you so much, Max. So we have a week and a day before that opens, right? So everybody has a week and a day to make sure their departments are aware that the funding is going to be open. Send that to everybody. We'll be sending out an email that you can just pass along to everyone. So just use that forward button. So again, do not wait to the last minute to ask Mac questions. Once that opens at 6 a.m., it's going to fill up quickly. So apply as fast as you can. Tell people to apply as fast as they can. They should be ready to go at 6 a.m. to submit.
Mac, I'm sorry, did you advise that when the application window will close?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And remember that just like all of our other competitions, GSA runs on a first come, first serve basis, which is highlighted in the video. So again, watch the video that Bradley's posted for us.
All right, well, thank you to our 2 speakers that came. Thank you to everybody that talked and for everybody that participated and asked questions. We will wrap up there. So if you have any further questions, please go on to Slack. Use Slack. We'll be on there for a little while tonight. Send us an email. You have all of our emails, so please reach out. Otherwise, we hope to see you in 2 weeks at our Come Talk with GSA event, and you'll be getting that link soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Have a nice night.